Hi, how are you all doing? I thought I'd jump on here today on the OCD Recovery YouTube channel and do a video on why no progress is being made on our OCD recovery journeys. I see this a lot in the groups, in the Facebook group, just to see why am I making no progress. So I'm putting in the work, or I'm making the changes, but I'm not seeing that much progress. So I'm just doing a video on that, just to go into some more detail. I've listed a few points, about 5 or 6, and just go into why I think you're not seeing the change that you're hoping for. All right, some subtle behaviours that you're still doing, and not quite going on to that next step of recovery, or just getting better and staying better for a prolonged period. I'm in the same room, by the way, but I just had a slight bit of manoeuvring. There's the dartboard right there. It's normally the other way. But yeah, a bit of jigging around, but I'm in the same room. So the first point. A big one for me, all right? And that's still partaking in a lot of avoidance, all right? So that can be quite subtle avoidance or quite big avoidance, okay? So if I elaborate on my own personal journey, so I avoided family members when I was suffering with POCD. I avoided family members for so long. Not only did I make that change, did I take that leap of faith, did I take that risk, go out of my comfort zone, did I start seeing big changes. All right, so that avoidance of, I don't want to do that, I don't want to feel anxious, I don't want to have a panic attack, I don't want thoughts to bombard me, I don't want to feel chronic guilt, so I'm going to avoid that. All right, avoidance needs to cut out. I cannot highlight that enough. No one recovers through avoidance. All right, avoidance really gets you nowhere. It heightens the fear. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you scared. Avoidance gets you nowhere. Another avoidance that I did. So I avoided sexual intimacy a lot. And that was the fear of being bombarded by thoughts at the time. And just my partner being completely put off of me, and completely ruining the moment. So I'd have thoughts at all different times, and my mind would be everywhere. I couldn't concentrate. I'd be there, but my mind would be over there. I just wouldn't be there. All right. Now, so I would then avoid that. So I'd avoid any even talk of having sex or anything around the subject. So I avoided anything to do with it, right? Because I was that scared. Another thing, I avoided lots of big life events. So I could list loads, but let me give some examples. Holidays. I avoided so many holidays. Even the talk of the topic, it sent me into a bit of a panic. Because the reason for that is I was so adamant that my holiday needed to be amazing. I needed to enjoy every minute. And because OCD was still pumping away, because the anxiety was still pumping away, because I was still suffering with really bad chronic guilt and chronic shame, I couldn't possibly enjoy a holiday. That was my belief. So I then avoided all holidays. All right. Another one. I love my football now. I love sporting events. If you know me, you know I absolutely love football. I avoided football games. Now, looking back at now, that's just crazy. It's a big hobby and a big keen interest of mine. I avoided. OCD had me in this restricted mental prison that I avoided stuff that I absolutely love. So you can see it, the box was just gradually getting smaller and smaller and smaller, trying to stay in that comfort zone, trying to stay in my safe place, because I didn't want to get triggered. I didn't want to feel like shit. I didn't want to ruin a big moment. I didn't want to waste money on going to these events. I didn't want to waste my life. I just wanted to stay in. And because I was suffering at the time, I didn't want to waste my time going out. I just wanted to stay in where I knew I was comfortable, so I could then know I've partaken in avoidance. Yes, I might not feel as anxious, but that was getting me absolutely nowhere. Not only when did I take those risks, I take those leap of faith, did I make that jump, did change start to happen? Yes, it fucking felt uncomfortable. Yes, it was a massive jump. Yes, I didn't want to do that. It felt very difficult. But progress comes in difficulties, in adverse times. All right, no one's avoided their way to recovery. If they have, I'd certainly like to bloody meet them. See what they look like. See what they talk like. I'd like to bloody meet them. All right, so if I move on to my next point. why are we not? It's still the same point with avoidance and compulsions and reassurance and things like that, but still doing compulsions. All right, there's a reason why no progress is being made, or not as much progress as you'd like to see. You might be seeing little bits of progress, but if you're still partaking in some compulsions now and then, you're really going to keep pulling yourself back, because these compulsions are not going to stop, because you're craving certainty. You don't want to take that leap of faith. You don't want to feel anxious. You don't want to feel guilty, so you're going back into your compulsions. When I had a big event coming up, I remember going into compulsions again. I'll give an example. I had a holiday coming up, and I'm sending emails, right? So let's say I send an email and I got a thought coming in. I'm not really concentrating. I'm just sending an email with work, an email that I send a million times, and then I've got the urge to check that email again. Have I wrote out a thought? Have I typed it out? And that's it. The whole world's going to see what came into my mind. Am I going to get sacked when I come back from my holiday? All these things. And like if I went back into that compulsion of properly scanning the email, or rereading it, or just checking it, or just making sure they responded and everything's all right, then of course I would start going back into performing lots of compulsions again. And of course, heightening the suffering. And I'm going to get back stuck in that OCD cycle if I'm doing compulsions. All right, so you're craving that certainty. All right, if I've been on a drunken night out and I've done lots of dancing, I've said something stupid, I can feel myself, as soon as I get up in the morning, I can feel the urge to try and replay an event. I'm not gonna engage in that. All right, it's a never-ending cycle. If I just woke up and thought, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that, and just move on, then that's what I would do. But if I look back and go, okay, why did I say that? I wish I really didn't say that. I'm such a knob for saying that. That was awful. Why did I say it? And constantly replayed and analysed it and ruminated over and over again about why this thing happened. Why did I dance like that? I'll just give an example of a real event, of how it would try to latch. And if I started doing this compulsions again, how I'd start going back into the real event, false memory, OCD cycle. All right. If I look back quite previously on my journey, when I first started suffering with real event, false memory, OCD, constantly in the past, constantly replaying events, constantly looking for the answer, looking for that key to peace. Well, of course, I never fucking found it. Never found it looking back in the past. Now, that was a compulsion by that check-in. Of course, you're ruminating because you're scared, and you're scanning the past because you're scared. When you lower down that fear, when you start breaking those fears down, that's going to naturally come down. But it's trying to engage in it less and less and less, knowing that the answer is not in the past, the answer is now in your perspectives. But if you're still engaging with constantly scanning the past, then that's performing that mental compulsion, leading in. And if you keep engaging in that, then that fear is going to stay stuck. You're going to stay stuck in that cycle. Okay, another compulsion I used to do a lot, and this was lots of neutralising the thought. So let's say I had a thought at an unwanted time. Go back to my previous point, during sexual intimacy. If I had a thought during them, now I remember I used to try and neutralise that, whether that be telling myself a complete random word. I even remember shouting out random words just to try and get the thought out of my head, to try and neutralise it. Or I'd just say, just OCD, don't worry about it. All right, that was massive. That was a massive compulsion of mine, seeking reassurance, trying to run away from OCD, trying to escape. Right, lots of Googling. All right, you might be thinking you're making great progress and go, no, I really need to fucking Google it actually. And all of a sudden you go, is it normal if? Is it OCD if? Just want to ask one more thing. Is it this? Is it that? All right, I did that for so long. I used to Google all the time, lots of Googling. All right, didn't get me anywhere. I had to go with that uncertainty, take the risk, feel anxious, feel like shit, feel that discomfort, feel the confusion of not knowing. All right, that is when change started to happen. Okay, still seeking lots of reassurance, still confessing. I was an absolute bitch for confessing. I used to confess all the time, looking for that temporary relief all the fucking time. wow, talking to my girlfriend, getting it off my chest, getting this secret out. I needed to get it out. I couldn't live with myself. I had to get it all off my chest. I can't handle it. I felt like my brain was about to explode at times. I didn't confess. I used to confess. I'd go as far as saying every day. Honestly, my poor girlfriend used to say a new confession, a new event, a new thought, something in the past, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, before I was bloody born. You confess about absolutely everything. I had to get all off my chest. No matter what OCD would twist and manipulate and convince me that it was totally real, I had to get off my chest. The reason I did that is because I used to get temporary relief for a good 5-10 minutes and then boom, bosh, something else. All right. So easy to fall down that trap of confessing. You should do it all the time. I remember a big step that I made, a big learning curve, was when I went for it. I didn't confess. I sat with the discomfort. And my Amy, my girlfriend, my fiance now, she said, no, you need to sit with those feelings. I'm not going to give you anything. If you confess to me today, I'm just going to walk out the room. That tough love. I'm not having any of your bullshit. I'm going. And that is what I needed, to sit with those discomfort, gradually break down my beliefs, work on my fear. And I don't confess anything anymore. I don't feel the urge, don't feel the need to confess at all. It does absolutely nothing. All right, it's an OCD trick, grabbing you in, keeping you in that OCD cycle, is keeping you stuck. All right, so please work on cutting out that confession. I cannot highlight the importance of that. It really gets you nowhere. I'd certainly like to meet the person who's recovered from confession, avoidance and compulsions. I would like to meet them, see what they look like. And asking so many questions. Yeah, that one was OCD, but this is not OCD. I'm the exception here. Well, that is OCD, but that's not. So many questions. Go back to the Googling, is this OCD? I just want to know if, is this normal if? Do you have this? Of course, when you come on the journey, you want to ask initial questions to understand how OCD operates, of course. But when you know when you're doing it for that reassurance, you're doing it for the temporary relief. That is when you're stuck in that OCD cycle. That is when you need to stop that urge, to resist the urge to ask a question, resist the urge to confess, resist the urge to get all off your chest. This is when we need to sit with the discomfort and go and live our life, even feeling like shit. And that is going to be the reason for massive change. You're not going to change yourself without action. It's all right saying, okay, I'm going to stop any confession, I'm going to stop reassurance, but then still Googling, still confessing to your partner. You need to stop doing that. It takes action for change to happen. All right, so that's my first points. If I move on to something slightly different, and that is a half-hearted approach towards recovery, wishy-washy. All right. I remember I wanted recovery to be easy. I wanted it to be an overnight thing. I didn't want to put any work in. I didn't want to commit. I didn't want to persist. I didn't want to have any dedication. I almost wanted to press a button in my head, boom, or have a pill, and that was it, all gone. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to put any work. It is right. It's not rocket science, okay? But it takes a lot of work, a lot of persistence. Even now, I'm actively working on recovery. Okay, I'm making sure I'm not avoiding anything now. Okay, I'm leaning into discomfort, going out my comfort zone. Okay, really trying to push myself. All right, not just sitting back and just, like I said, sat in my comfort zone. All right, so quite a meaningful approach towards recovery. This is what I used to always say. If you watch my quite old videos on the channel, go at OCD the same energy it goes at you. Now, I don't mean a compulsively trying to get rid of it. I don't mean that. I mean OCD is resilient. It's relentless. There's no boundaries, there's no limits. So I mean, you kind of need that energy to go back at it. You need to be robust. You need to be resilient in your recovery journey. You need to be lots of perseverance and lots of persistence. All right, you need to be tough with it. Tough love and hard work. It's not. It doesn't just go overnight. It needs a lot. All right, but it's not that rocket science where it's it takes you've got to write a million essays or you've got to read a million books of covered. No, not at all. It does take a lot of work, but not rocket science. All right. Not prioritizing recovery work. I'll do it tomorrow. exposures, for example. I'll do them tomorrow, and that's too scary. Now I'll do that next week. Well, that never comes. You're never going to feel ready to recover. You're never going to feel ready to put in the work. You're never going to feel ready to do an exposure. You're never going to feel ready to read this book. No, I'm not going to dispute or waiting for a crisis to dispute, or waiting for a crisis to put in recovery work. Right? We can do that as we're slightly feeling better. We can do that in crises, but you don't have to wait for a crisis. All right? We're prioritizing it. Okay? It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of compromise. You can't just, I want to focus on this, but I'm just going to slightly work on recovery. No, it needs to be a focus, but not absolutely everything. So you need the balance. So you need to also work on other goals in life, but it needs to be a main priority. That recovery is something that you're going to work on. All right, I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to leave with 4 words. So I've said them enough in that bit there, but hard work, that's 2 words in itself, but hard work, dedication, patience and persistence. All right, 5 words that are very crucial towards recovery. Next point, falling back to old irrational beliefs. Okay, so not disputing these irrational beliefs. We're human, we're fallible, we're going to fall back to old irrational beliefs. Of course we are. I fall back many times when I used to start getting stuck again, or going back into a compulsive cycle. Okay, what irrational beliefs was I telling myself? Was I writing myself off as a person? Was I going back to conditional acceptance? Was my frustration tolerance very low? Right, was I moaning a lot? Was I saying, oh, this must not happen to me? Or why is that theme cropped up? Okay, am I saying I am good if I do X, Y, Z? Instead of I can unconditionally accept myself even with my good acts, even with my bad acts, my bad traits, my bad behaviours. I can accept myself even though I may not like it. I can accept myself. All right, it's so easy to fall back into that trap of conditional acceptance because we're human. We're prone to do that. We're born into a conditional acceptance environment. We're going to do that. All right, so don't beat yourself up if you do, but then it's catching it and knowing that you have, and then working back to your rational beliefs from your rational, applying your unconditional acceptance again, and knowing what got you better, and just constantly nailing it down. So what I meant by those words, I said there's the dedication, the hard work, the patience, and the perseverance there. Lots of persistence. You don't just apply unconditional acceptance once and that's it, you're signed and off you go into the golden sunset. That's not how it works. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of persistence. All right, next point, having an unhealthy life structure, a massive reason of why we don't progress or why we're not feeling better. Unhealthy life structure. Let me tell you a bit about myself. Okay, so I put on quite a bit of weight. I gave up sports that I enjoyed doing. I love playing cricket. I gave up that because it just felt like too much. I probably wasn't enjoying it anyway, but OCD got in there. I just wasn't, all I could focus on was loads of other stuff. I was completely locked up in a chronic guilt cycle that I couldn't focus on playing cricket or playing sport. So I put on a lot of weight. Even the thought of running, walking, so I was very lazy. So even just had to walk somewhere, fuck it, I'll get a taxi. Just that lazy, quick relief. Didn't want to put in any effort. I just wanted everything quick, easy, because I was in that suffer cycle. Now I needed to get out of that. Okay, so I love me running now. I love sport now. I stay on top of my weight, not compulsively. But that's an interest of mine, just to try and stay healthy. Hence why I love me running, me cycling, trying to get back into football, cricket, all these things. I'm just trying to build a healthy life structure. All right, going back to the hobbies that you enjoy. All right, if you love your sport, try and get back into it. Don't put it off because of OCD. Don't put it off because of an event in the past. Don't put it off because you're struggling with POCD. Don't put it off because you're suffering with harm OCD, sensory motor OCD. Don't put it off. All right, we need to go back into these things even when we are struggling. All right, opting to sit on the sofa and just watch Netflix, or just, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. All right, there's nothing wrong with watching Netflix. I do like to relax and enjoy myself, but it's the reasons you're doing it for. All right, I was doing it for an escape. I was doing it to get out of the suffering. That is when it becomes a problem. All right, so we don't want to cut it out completely, but we were always about that balance and the moderation. All right. So just instead of just sat there watching Netflix and not putting any recovery work, you're dedicating time towards recovery work. All right. I remember eating quick, easy, fatty food, fast food, just so easy to eat. Couldn't be bothered to cook, couldn't even think about getting ingredients ready, things like that. Just go and get a KFC. I'd go and get a McDonald's because it was easy, it was quick, it tasted nice. And that was it. I was happy. And then boom, I just wanted to get out of that cycle. When I look back now, it's like, wow, I couldn't sit with the discomfort. So I needed something to keep me happy, some kind of pleasure. I just needed to get out of the cycle. All these things I was doing wrong. Stress eating, as we call it. All right, I was drinking more than I should have done. Or I say should have, drinking more than I like to. All right, for the wrong reasons. Gambling more than I like to. Okay, watching porn more than I like to. All for an escape. All to get out of the suffering cycle. All right, all the things that can contribute to an unhealthy life structure. All right, not going to work. Now, I never had that problem myself because work was an escape for me. I know Jade says it a lot on this channel that she used to work and work and work just to get away from her thoughts and just to run away. I was like that as well. So I used to work and work and work. Because I felt if I didn't go to work, then I thought, oh my God, I can't handle that. But if you're in a position of not going to work because of OCD, because you're avoiding it, or you're putting off any promotion at work, putting off changing jobs, this can all be because of OCD. So it's building a healthy life structure towards work, getting back into a routine, getting back into even just socialising with people at work, just getting back into a normal routine and not just lying in bed feeling sorry for yourself. All right, getting out of bed was probably the most difficult thing for me. At 6 in the morning, the alarm's going beep, 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 and I'm thinking, fuck me, that is the last thing I want to do. But I'm so glad I got up and pushed myself on. Get out of bed. All right, your future self is thanking you. Get into your routine. Get back to work. Of course, there's financial benefits, but there's also mental health benefits, especially with OCD. All right, there's no one who's going to recover. Of course, I'd like to meet this person again if they just laid in bed, didn't go to work, didn't push themselves, and just curled up in a ball and cried and just felt sorry for themselves. Now that is not going to recover. That's not going to recover you. Of course, that's how you feel. I'm not undermining the suffering at all. I know exactly how you feel. I know when it feels like that is the only thing you can possibly do. When you're struggling just to even fucking function, I know that. But getting back to work, getting back to routine, getting back to a healthy life structure is absolutely vital. All right, we need to get out of our comfort zones. All right, so that's mainly that unhealthy life structure. There'll be lots of other stuff, but yeah, that is very crucial. All right, I know, and it's something you can do without. So when you're first on the journey, it's something you can make a quick change with. All right, you don't have to wait to feel better to make a change to your life structure. Of course you don't. All right, you can feel like shit and still go for a run. You can feel like shit and still go for a swim, even if you're scared shitless. You can still do these things. All right, of course they're going to take a big leap of faith and big risks, but they're changes you can make quite quickly as you're working on your beliefs, as you're adopting unconditional acceptance. You can do that. You can bring it for the ride and get back to a healthy life structure. Okay, so that leads me on quite nicely to my next point, and that is just the refusal to bring it for the ride. All right, I'm waiting until tomorrow to feel better. I'm waiting to feel better to live my life. Okay, I'm putting everything off until tomorrow. Now that kept me stuck for years. All right, like my first point with avoidance, I wanted to feel spot on. I wanted to feel absolutely perfect to live my life. Absolute bollocks. So thinking about it now. All right, get out there and bring it for the ride. Bring OCD with you. All right, if you're in driving, if you're going on holiday, bring it with you. Pack it in your suitcase. Pack it in your car. Put the seatbelt on it. All right, bring it for the ride. Live your life with it. Another massive, quite immediate change you can make if you're so used to being stuck inside, being housebound. I was housebound with OCD. I had to make that change of bringing it for the ride. Started getting out there, not avoiding anything. All right. Next point it sort of leads me on to is expecting an easy life. All right. Links into the unconditional life acceptance. Now, life isn't fucking easy. Reality is life is hard. It throws a lot of shit at you. A lot of things happen in life. It's very, very difficult, very challenging conditions. All right, all parts of the world. Natural disasters, for example, deaths, lots of illnesses, diseases, all these difficult things that happen in life, very challenging conditions. Okay, so expecting an easy life and waiting for a quick fix, it all links into the OCD recovery. Okay, life's difficult, OCD recovery is difficult, of course it is, but putting in the hard work, applying the tools learned, having that persistence, being robust, overcoming all sorts of challenges, overcoming all sorts of hurdles in life, same as the OCD recovery. Okay, it takes the sort of the strength to overcome something. If you can overcome OCD, or work by yourself just to get better and actively work on it day to day, then you can overcome so much in life. You can be robust towards all parts of life. All right, so it's not a quick fix, and expecting an easy life isn't going to get you anywhere. Okay, and that takes me on to my last point. All right, and something I did for so fucking long, and that was complain and moan and whine, and I run out of words to use, but I used all the time, why me? Why have I got to suffer with OCD? Remember POCD, I just felt so alone. Why me? Why is this me? Whose fault is this? Why was it picked on me? Now that got me absolutely fucking nowhere. What a complete waste of time that was. But I can see why you do it. I can see why people do it. I can see why I did it. Because I felt like shit. I felt completely hopeless. I felt completely stuck. I felt completely alone. So it's understandable, but it gets you nowhere. All right, it's a zero return investment. Gets you absolutely napped. Okay, so just a summary. It takes a lot of work, all right, a lot of persistence, but you can get there. I've been in your shoes, all right. I know exactly how you feel. If you're really struggling with OCD, or just feel like you're just stuck, you're just in a guilt cycle, rumination cycle, can't get out of that feeling of I just want to feel better. Well, bring it for the right. Let's get out there. Let's start working on our beliefs, and let's gradually do it. It's not overnight. It takes a lot of work, and you will get there. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed the video. Anything you'd like me to elaborate on, please leave a comment. I read the comments, so I'll try and get back to you and do another video on it. If you've liked the video, please leave a like. I'd certainly appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. Anyway, take care. Have a lovely rest of the week, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.